to Elgin Symphony Orchestra 75 Years. This program is being recorded on June 25th, 2025 as part of the ESO's 75th anniversary celebration. My name is Ann Chipman, and I'm looking forward to sharing the ESO story with you, focusing on the symphony's 5 music directors and their many accomplishments. Special thanks to those who have helped with research and supported the creation of this program, including Mark Thayer, ESO Chief Executive, Patricia Harkin, ESO Board Member and Chairman of the 75th Anniversary Committee, Liz Marsden, Elgin History Museum Director, and the staff of the museum. This is the current Elgin Symphony Orchestra on the stage at Hemmons Cultural Center. Chad Goodman, the orchestra's 5th music director or conductor, leads the group of over 70 professional musicians. What you see before you is the result of the work of hundreds, if not thousands, of people who dedicated their talent, time, energy, and support over the last 75 years to make an award-winning symphony orchestra for Elgin possible. The birth of the Elgin Civic Symphony Orchestra in 1950 is a unique and important part of Elgin history that speaks very highly of the individuals and organizations that were involved. When the symphony was formed in the fall of 1950 under the auspices of Elgin Community College's Adult Education Division, Douglas Steensland was named the first music director. The support of the college and the community contributed greatly to the symphony's success for many years, and among other two-year colleges in Illinois, for sure, and maybe beyond, ECC was one of the cutting-edge organizations of this model of mentoring and incubating cultural organizations. In Elgin, two important factors came together to make this happen. On one hand, the leaders of the U46 school district and the newly formed Elgin Community College, namely U46 Superintendent Orrin Thompson and Board Chairman Vincent Coleman and ECC's Dean Gilbert Renner, were seeking ideas for how the college could most effectively meet the needs of the community. These leaders were open to ideas, and in addition to the obvious academic and technical pursuits the college might provide, they had also broadly defined community needs to include personal growth and cultural activities. At the same time, a group of Elgin musicians and U46 music teachers was rehearsing for the Elgin Musicians Club annual fall festival of 1950. Included in this group were Douglas Steensland, newly arrived in Elgin to direct the Elgin High Band, Marion Laffey, director of the Elgin High Orchestra and convener of the orchestra for the fall festival, and Jean Morgan Hove, U46 district music teacher. During rehearsals, the idea of establishing a permanent community orchestra for Elgin was discussed and gained a great deal of interest. Steensland and Laffey took these ideas to Superintendent Thompson and ECC's Dean Renner, and from there they were shared with the U46 board. The timing was right, and the Elgin Civic Symphony Orchestra was born as an instrumental music program at the college and a source of performances for the community. This photo marks the official debut in April of 1951 in Elgin High Auditorium with about 60 members. The concert was a great success, and as they say, the rest is history. Douglas Steensland was named the founding conductor, and Marion Laffey was named associate conductor and concertmaster. Steensland, Laffey, and Hove would each play key roles in the orchestra for many years to come. This is the earliest known photo of the group, taken in March of 1951 in Elgin High, about a month before the debut concert. And the earliest known written reference to the symphony is a Courier News article from November 10, 1950, written by Dean Renner. Renner describes the various activities and classes in the adult evening program and highlights the Elgin Civic Symphony as rehearsing in space provided by the college in Elgin High School. Interested musicians could register for a course called Civic Symphony. The college provided financial and in-kind resources such as rehearsal and performance space, sheet music, and even instruments if needed. The symphony was, in essence, the first in-residence ensemble at the college, establishing a precedent to incubate cultural organizations as part of its mission that continues to this day. Before coming to Elgin, Doug Steensland studied music at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and at the Juilliard School of Music. He had conducted high school bands and orchestras. He was the principal flutist in the Madison Civic Symphony for 15 years. And as a well-respected flute teacher at UW-Madison, he developed methods for teaching the flute and wrote books on his methods that were used widely in schools. Before coming to Elgin, Marion Laffey was a studio musician for Chicago radio stations and played for 15 years with the Chicago Women's Symphony, an elite musical group of the time. Laffey conducted the Elgin High Symphony and taught string instruments in U46 schools. She was also an active member of the Elgin Musicians Club and often conducted the orchestra for the club's festivals. Jean Morgan, soon to become Hove, joined the U46 music department in 1948. Her instruments were viola and violin. She and Miss Laffey split the U46 territory for stringed instruments. The dividing line they agreed upon was the Fox River. Jean played in the symphony for over 50 years and held a variety of roles, including principal viola, concertmaster, and associate concertmaster. With this slide, we are jumping ahead to 1956 as the Elgin Civic Symphony and the Elgin Choral Union collaborate for the first time on a production of Handel's Messiah. The Elgin Choral Union was founded by Dean Chipman and Frank Kratky in 1947 and is now known as the Elgin Master Chorale. The two directors in this picture, Doug Steensland and Frank Kratky, are on the left, and Charles Emmert on the right represents the symphony. If you were thinking that Dean Chipman might be a close relative of mine, you would be correct. He was my father and was manager and board member of the Choral Union for almost 2 decades. Dean came to Elgin in 1940 to teach art and direct the Elgin Academy Art Gallery. He also became deeply involved in many other cultural activities and organizations in and around Elgin. This is the Messiah program for that first collaboration. Hundreds, maybe possibly even 1,000, heard the performance at the Masonic Temple, and the partnership between the two organizations is ongoing. Members of the Elgin Civic Symphony Orchestra were local professional and amateur musicians, high school music instructors, and select high school students. Thanks to the Courier News and the Elgin History Museum, we have some very good photos from the 1950s that highlight different players. You can see the age range in this photo. These are the principal players from the woodwind section in 1958: oboe, flute, clarinet, and bassoon. Rachel Steensland, second from the left, and wife of Douglas Steensland, was an accomplished flute player and first chair flute for 2 decades. She was also very active in the Elgin Community Theater, which was the second cultural organization sponsored by ECC in those early days. Frederick Schumeyer, MD, was principal clarinet and was one of several local doctors who were in the symphony. By the mid-1950s, the symphony season had expanded to 3 concerts instead of 2. And in this 1958 photo, Steensland rehearses the group, possibly in the same Elgin rehearsal room as the earlier rehearsal photo. As a community orchestra, there was always turnover, but it seems that attracting new members was not a problem. In 1959, these 8 new members were welcomed. This is the only photo I know of showing Miss Laffey conducting the Elgin Civic Symphony. It was found in a college brochure produced in the early 1960s. When the symphony formed in 1950, there were 13 charter members. In 1960, 11 of them gathered to mark the 10th anniversary season. Only 2 are missing from this photo. They are looking at the program from the debut concert in 1951, and maybe they're thinking, I can't believe it's been 10 years. I wonder what they would think now as the orchestra prepares for its 76th season. The symphony received great coverage from the Courier News and Chicago Tribune, sometimes with full-page photo spreads. Here's one from May of 1963. Summer concerts at Wing Park Bandshell were added in 1963. Charlotte Bowl was a well-respected singer, voice teacher, and choral director in Elgin, who often performed with the symphony, the choral union, and other musical groups. In September of 1963, Dean Chipman joined the Elgin Community College as the director of the Adult Education Division. He would later become the first vice president of instruction. As part of his new position, he became the first manager of the Elgin Civic Symphony. His charge as manager was to promote the orchestra and other cultural activities of the college to the community. He was symphony manager from 1963 to 1980 and later wrote A History of the Elgin Symphony Orchestra, 1950 to 1985. And his positive influence on the symphony's development and on the college's relationship with the community was far-reaching. During the 1960s, the repertoire of the symphony was growing, and there were many guest artists from the area and beyond. This is the local list. You may recognize some of these names because we've mentioned some already. The November 1967 concert featured a local musician, French composers, and the pipe organ of the First Methodist Church. Jane Hampton Chipman was the organ soloist. And yes, she is another close relative of mine, my wonderful and talented mother. Two important organ pieces by Francis Poulenc and Gabriel Saint-Saëns were featured, demonstrating well the expanding repertoire of the orchestra. Many other soloists came from farther afield. Some were Chicago symphony players. Many were music faculty from colleges and universities. Note the fourth name from the bottom, Jeffrey Siegel. Jeffrey Siegel, a graduate of Juilliard School of Music and a recording artist, made his debut in Elgin in 1968. Both the audience and the symphony players loved him. One review stated that the audience was mesmerized by his playing. This began a long-term relationship with the Elgin Symphony that resulted in 5 appearances with the symphony between 68 and 82. He also performed with the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and throughout the U.S. and abroad. These pages from the Elgin Community College Yearbook of 1967 show the first of 2 large choral festivals with the Elgin Civic Symphony that were organized by Dean Chipman and presented by ECC. Multiple choral groups and the symphony were brought together under the direction of Margaret Hillis. Ms. Hillis was the founder and director of the Grammy Award-winning Chicago Symphony Orchestra Chorus. Her appearances in Elgin, sponsored by the college, were very important cultural events. The Larkin High School gym was filled to capacity with 1,500 attending. In 1985, Jean Hove described her impressions in a talk given for the Elgin Symphony League, and I love this quote. Jean said, "The music was a real challenge, as contemporary music usually is. Doug prepared the orchestra, Charles Beckman, choral director at EHS, and prepared the children's choir, and the choirs of ECC, Elgin High, and Larkin High completed the group of 300 voices." Jean continued, "The first rehearsal was a most memorable event. I was astonished by Miss Hillis, her attention to detail, her skill in explaining the inner workings of the music, and her demanding of results while still remaining a lady were eye-opening." Here, Steensland talks through the plans for a 1968 concert with 2 soloists, Melissa Boll and Patrick Neumann. I just love this photo. In the fall of 1969, we come to another key event which brought many positive changes for the symphony and the community in general. The gala opening of the Hemmons Auditorium, the crown jewel in the new Civic Center, made clear that Elgin finally had a community performance hall suitable for a symphony orchestra. The gala was a fundraiser sponsored by ECC to provide a concert grand piano and other stage equipment required for performances. Ferranti and Teicher, a famous duo piano team of the time, were special guest artists. Dean Chipman chaired the Hemmons Gala Committee, working with members from the City of Elgin and the ECC Board. Hemmons was indeed a very welcome development for the community and for the symphony, because for nearly 2 decades the symphony had played in inadequate venues, and a performing arts center at ECC would not arrive until much later in 1995. It should be noted that the Hemmons Memorial Building and Auditorium would not have been possible without the generous gift of Hattie Pease Hemmons, who specified in her will to establish and maintain a not-for-profit community building and auditorium in the city of Elgin, Illinois. Exactly 1 month after the gala, on November 9th, 1969, Steensland conducted the first concert of the ESO's 20th anniversary season at Hemmons, another milestone anniversary. The program cover shows off the new hall and the new branding. Take out the word civic, and the new name is now simply Elgin Symphony Orchestra. This was a period of great positive change for Elgin, but change can also bring disruption. At Hemmons, the symphony was just beginning to adjust to the new concert hall, and Elgin city workers were simultaneously trying hard to get Hemmons running smoothly. And at the college, the gigantic move from downtown to a new campus on the west side was about to take place. In April of 1970, the new Steinway concert grand piano had arrived at Hemmons, purchased with money raised at the gala opening, sponsored by ECC. David Nelson was very happy, as you can see here, to play for his third performance with the symphony, playing the Liszt Hungarian Fantasy and Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. The 21st season kicked off with a concert commemorating the bicentennial of Beethoven's birth, with guest soloist Gunnar Johansson, artist in residence at University of Wisconsin. The second concert of the season featured the ESO's own principal cellist from 1971 to 1984, Janet Stewart Marshall. Janet grew up in Elgin, received music degrees from Cornell College and Northwestern University, and taught and performed widely in the area. For the final concert of the 21st season, there would be two more soloists from the ranks of the symphony, Michael Heap oboe and James Potter French horn. This was to be Steensland's final concert with the orchestra. He resigned his music director post at the end of the season. This was the end of an era. Doug Steensland had led the orchestra through 2 decades of steady growth and development as it became a premier community orchestra in the region and provided enjoyment for both musicians and the public. The Elgin Civic Symphony Orchestra was the foundation for the ESO of today. In the fall of 1971, Grammy Award winner Margaret Hillis, founder and conductor of the legendary Chicago Symphony Chorus, became Elgin Symphony Orchestra's second music director. This marked the beginning of a new era of growth for the symphony, both artistically and organizationally. Her tenure would last for 14 years, ending in 1985. Her arrival in Elgin was big news. She had built the Chicago Symphony Chorus into a world-class organization and was considered to be at the top level of choral conducting, on the same level as Robert Shaw, who was a mentor of hers. It is important to mention that Miss Hillis in the early 70s was one of very few female conductors of a symphony orchestra anywhere in the US or beyond. As a student and in her early career, she had pursued choral conducting with the goal of breaking into the male-dominated field of symphonic conducting, and her tenacity helped her to overcome many barriers. As an aside, music was not her only endeavor. As a young woman, she earned her private pilot's license, and during World War II, after obtaining a commercial license, she served as a civilian flight instructor for the United States Navy. The Elgin Symphony was a great opportunity for both Hillis and for Elgin musicians and audiences. Dean Chipman had invited her to Elgin for the choral festivals in 1967 and 69, and she had been impressed. He was thrilled that she accepted the offer to teach and conduct in Elgin in 1971. When asked why she decided to come to Elgin, she said, "I saw a beautiful concert hall and a beautiful college. The love of beauty is here. Now all it will take is effort." She also had been impressed by the college's support of the symphony as a community service and the talented and motivated musicians she had worked with on her previous visits. The Hillis era included many accomplishments. The Elgin Symphony League was established to assist in fundraising. Young people's concerts reached thousands of local youths. The creation of the Elgin Area Youth Symphony was made. Annual do-it-yourself Messiah concerts became the hottest ticket in town. The expansion of the repertoire and audiences continued. Transitioning to a fully professional orchestra was on the docket, and a new governing structure to support the growth was put in place. Miss Hillis immediately identified the need for a volunteer group that would hold fundraisers and provide general support for orchestra programs. In 1971, Jane Chipman formed the original group of 25 women and was voted the first president of the Elgin Symphony Women's League, now called the Elgin Symphony League. By 1980, the group had grown to over 200 members, both men and women, and today it continues to provide support for the orchestra. The 22nd season brought Mary Sauer, the revered pianist for the Chicago Symphony, to Elgin. Here she is speaking with Ellen Fritsch, the ESO personnel manager and talented oboist in the orchestra. This Courier News article featured Bernice Bloom and David Nelson for their appearance together to play Francis Poulenc's Concerto in D minor for two pianos and orchestra. Bernice and David, both respected Elgin musicians and music teachers, were always well received by the audiences. This article, with photos by Cliff Lowe's, was a unique design by Ruth Distelhorst. Ruth was a Courier News reporter who often wrote about cultural activities. Margaret Hillis began the Young People's Concerts in 1973, reaching 5,000 fifth graders from the public schools each year. Jane Chipman and many other Symphony League members worked hard to support these important groups for youth that have continued in a variety of forms and are now known as the Ainsworth Concerts. In 1974, Robert Hansen was hired at ECC to be a music instructor and the assistant conductor of the Elgin Symphony, working with Margaret Hillis. Hansen would become co-music director with Hillis in 1983, and in 1985, when Hillis stepped down, he became the next music director. More on that later. The 1974-75 season was a major milestone, 25 years of success. Events were scheduled to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the symphony. At the 25th anniversary concert, Frida Simon, ECC board chair, honored 3 members of the orchestra for 25 years of service. All 3 were charter members in 1950. Marion Laffey was no longer concertmaster, but would remain with the orchestra until 1978. Jean Hove was concertmaster from 1972 to 81 and would remain in the violin section another 25 plus years, retiring after the 2000-2001 season. And Gladys Unruh, violist, who is standing, remained in the orchestra for another 5 years. This photo was used to announce the founding of the youth orchestra in the Courier News. This is a planning meeting between Bob Hansen, conductor, Jane Chipman, league president, and Judy Steffen, league member. With the success of the youth concerts started by Hillis, the Symphony League was extremely interested in also supporting the new youth orchestra. The first performance of the Elgin Area Symphony, Youth Symphony, was held in the lobby of the main building on the ECC campus on April 23, 1977. There are only a few photos of the event. Hansen is standing on the left. He remained the conductor until 1979. The Youth Symphony is still in existence today. It attracts hundreds of students from the region and beyond and has received many awards and accolades. The great success of the Youth Symphony is another important Elgin story. The 27th season included visits from guest soloists Benny Goodman, the famous clarinet player, and the return of Jeffrey Siegel, pianist, to much applause from the audience. This is the wonderful program cover for the Benny Goodman performance. He played both classical and popular pieces, and the audience was thrilled. This drawing is by the famous caricature artist Al Hirschfeld. Other special guest soloists during the Hillis era included Peter Nero, Misha Dichter, Pepe Romero, Janos Starker, and the list goes on. Note that the last two names, both internationally recognized guest composers who grew up in Elgin, Barton Brody and Daniel Brubaker. Both of these men um, had a lot in common because they both attended Elgin High School and played in the Elgin Symphony before leaving Elgin to embark on stellar careers as composers and teachers. Both were inducted to the Fox Valley Hall of Fame, Brubaker in 2006 and Brody in 2008. Both had works premiered by the ESO. The ESO premiered Brody's work, Teru, in 1979, and in 1985, they commissioned a work for piano and orchestra from Brody. Brubaker's Rhapsody for Orchestra was premiered in 1985, and Yo-Yo Ma played the final movement of Brubaker's Concerto for Cello as an encore at the ESO 50th Anniversary Gala Concert in 1999. Of course, there were many choral works performed during the Hillis era, and many different choral groups were involved. In October of 1977, Miss Hillis was called to New York City to stand in for Sir George Solti, conducting the Chicago Symphony Orchestra and Chorus at Carnegie Hall. Solti had fallen and sustained a back injury. Hillis had one day to prepare herself and then conduct Mahler's Eighth Symphony, which requires more than 400 musicians and singers. No pressure there. Hillis triumphed, received rave reviews, and made the front page of the New York Times. The New York audience was ecstatic, and she received a standing ovation reported to last 10 minutes. An interesting domino effect took place back in Hemmons in Elgin, with Robert Hansen filling in at the last minute for Miss Hillis with equal success. Miss Hillis led the first do-it-yourself Messiah concert in Chicago at Orchestra Hall in December 1976, and this became a very popular event in Chicago. 1 year later, Hillis conducted the first do-it-yourself Messiah concert in Elgin to a capacity audience at Hemmons. It was a huge success and became a much sought-after annual concert in Elgin. My understanding is that people would camp out and to be sure to get tickets. The audience logistics for the do-it-yourself Messiah were more complicated than a regular concert. The main floor was for singers, and the balcony was for listeners, and singers also needed to be in sections. In this photo, Dean Chipman is meeting with Dan Mackey, the newly hired assistant manager, and Kay Maxwell, a Symphony League member, to discuss plans. Mackey was also principal flutist for the symphony, director of the ECC Conservatory, program annotator, and pre-concert lecturer for orchestra concerts. In 1979, Messiah fans had choices. There was the third annual Do-It-Yourself Messiah with the ESO, conducted by Margaret Hillis, and also that season, the Elgin Choral Union, which was now conducted by Robert Hansen, presented the full concert version at the Norris Center in St. Charles. So you could pick one or do both. In this 1980 photo, outgoing Symphony League President Gene Haybison and retiring ESO General Manager Dean Chipman are discussing concerts in the lobby of Hemmons. They are looking at a photo of guest soloist Adolf Herseth, famed trumpet player from the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Jean Haybison followed Jane Chipman as the second league president and served another term as president some years later. She was a dedicated and important leader in the Symphony League for many years. At the time he retired from the Symphony in 1980, Dean had served as ESO general manager for 17 years. At the 30th anniversary concert, both Jane and Dean Chipman were honored for their service contributions to the ESO, ECC, and Elgin. Frida Simon, ECC board chair, thanked them on behalf of ECC, and they received the honorary title of Life Directors of the ESO from the Symphony. Edward Brody had been a major supporter and advisory board member of the ESO for many years. In 1981, Brody worked with Robert Hansen and others to establish a new not-for-profit governing structure for the future and an expanded board to support it. He was subsequently elected the first president. As the newspaper photo shows, Mr. Brody was also a trained pianist and performed with the ESO in February of 1980. Ed's wife, Pearl, was the president of the Symphony League and also served on the board of trustees. Another power couple, the Blizzards, were major supporters and contributors to the success of ESO in a multitude of ways. Harry served on the original advisory board and continued on the expanded board for many years. Phyllis is a longtime member of the Symphony League. Many others are worthy of the mention as longtime supporters and contributors to the success of the ESO, but unfortunately, time does not allow here. In the early 1980s, rapid expansion was taking place. Holiday concerts had been added, then a Super Pops series, and then a second classic series. The number of concerts in the classic series was also expanded from 3 to 5 concerts per season. By 1983, the out-of-town concert schedule, including Schaumburg, St. Charles, Roselle, Evanston, and a 4th of July concert at Poplar Creek, which was attended by 12,000. It became apparent that the long-range plan for the symphony should include transitioning to a fully professional orchestra over a period of years. Robert Hansen was actively involved in guiding the process, and several factors were already smoothing the way to a professional orchestra. They were an expanding orchestral and choral repertoire that was attracting higher quality musicians. Audition standards were raised for new players, and annual auditions were required for current players. And a new chamber orchestra, the Elgin Symphonette, founded by David Kotz, the new assistant conductor of the ESO, provided an alternative for local musicians. Special programs and highlights from Hillis's last years include a collaboration with the Elgin Area Performing Arts Organization to present Lisa Boehm's Nutcracker Suite at Hemmons. This production was offered annually for a number of years. In November of 1984, Hansen conducted 3 combined choruses, a full symphony with 2 concert grand pianos, and soloists in Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. Looking at that photo, it is hard to imagine how they could have fit anyone else on the stage. In April of 1985, David Kotz introduced Festival Classico, celebrating the contributions of Hispanic culture to classical music. When Hillis stepped down after 14 seasons as music director, the orchestra had developed both the artistic and organizational capacity to provide top-notch musical assets to the community and be well-positioned for the future. This was the end of another era of growth and development, and the beginning of a promising new era as a fully professional orchestra under the direction of Robert Hansen. Conductor, composer, music educator Robert Hansen was well positioned to become the ESO's 3rd music director in 1985. He had received his master and doctorate degrees in music composition at Northwestern University. He had been with the Symphony since 1974, and he also founded and conducted the Elgin Area Youth Symphony, was music director of the Elgin Choral Union, and co-music director with Hillis from 1983 to 1985. With his skillful handling of the transition to a professional orchestra, the orchestra was attracting the best musicians and new audiences. Hansen's 26-year tenure as music director brought new levels of artistic development, innovative programming, rapid growth, and recognition as a preeminent regional cultural institution in Illinois. By the end of his tenure, there were 50 performances per season, with total audiences of more than 50,000 from over 100 communities, and over 20,000 students reached through a variety of innovative musical education programs. The ESO had become the second largest symphony in Illinois with a growing national reputation. Being second in size to the Chicago Symphony Orchestra was not a bad place to be. Many contributed to this success, including the talented musicians, the growing group of generous donors and corporate sponsors, an active and committed board of trustees, an active symphony league, continuing collaboration with the City of Elgin, ECC, and other arts organizations, executive directors Marcine Lindstrom and Michael Pastrish, associate conductor Stephen Squires, education conductor Randall Swigum, program annotator and presenter of the popular pre-concert audience chats, Daniel Mackey, and many, many others. The ESO was named Orchestra of the Year 3 times by the Illinois Council of Orchestras, 1988, 1999, and 2006. This award is given in recognition of programming excellence, artistic quality, and leadership. It was unprecedented to receive this award 3 times. The presence of the ESO in Elgin was contributing to economic growth. The city realized this, and in 1993, the ESO received the City of Elgin's Image Award for significant contributions to the quality of life in the community. In 1996, the ESO joined an elite group of about 40 regional arts organizations to be designated as an established regional art institution and a state treasure by the Illinois State Legislature. This was an important recognition by the state. Beginning in 1997, ESO classic subscription concerts were broadcast nationwide and across the world on WFMT 98.7, Chicago's Fine Arts station. The concerts were recorded live and broadcast monthly for over a decade. The ESO was honored to be one of the few select orchestras in the nation to have regular concert broadcasts on WFMT. The gala opening of the concert of the 50th anniversary season in 1990 featured superstar cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Ma was perhaps the most sought-after classical musician in the world, and the fact that he appeared with the Elgin Symphony Orchestra was a testament to both the stature of the orchestra and his own philosophy of bringing music to everyone everywhere. On the program were 2 famous cello concertos by Haydn and Tchaikovsky. As previously mentioned, Ma played an encore from the cello concerto of Daniel Brubaker. That was certainly a wonderful element of this concert. You'll see Daniel's photo on the bottom left here, and I'm sure that he was very thrilled. Yo-Yo Ma wowed both the audience and the orchestra. His ability to connect through his playing and his nonverbal interactions with the musicians were amazing. Audience members were astounded, and I can testify that some were in tears. Each season, many world-class artists, both well-known and rising stars, thrilled audiences, and this is just a short list. Some of these musicians also provided their time to conduct master classes open to the public. The last name on this list is Midori, a world-renowned violinist, soloist, music educator, and cultural ambassador. In 2008, the ESO was honored to partner with the Elgin Youth Symphony Orchestra and Midori as one of the select organizations to participate in her orchestra residencies program, a week-long series of educational and concert events. In both 2001 and 2009, the Illinois Council of Orchestras named Robert Hansen Illinois Conductor of the Year. Chicago Tribune music critic John von Rhine noted that the ESO got where it was by answering the cultural needs of the Northwest Corridor, astute management, and superior leadership. Robert Hansen is a first-rate conductor and orchestra builder. In the 54th season, Maestro Hansen celebrated his 30 years of association with the ESO. Included in his many accomplishments was a strong commitment to music education at all levels. Building on that, for the next 5 seasons, he embarked on an ambitious exploration of American music called Exploring the American Voice. First off, in 2005, was the Dvorak in America Festival. This month-long festival featured interactive music symposiums, chamber music recitals, documentary films, children's concerts, and school visits. The festival was guided by the expertise and insight of a noted Dvorak scholar, Joseph Horowitz, and culminated with a performance of Dvorak's New World Symphony, which is strongly influenced by American culture and music. The festival was made possible in part by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Illinois Humanities Council. 2006 brought In the Search of the American Dream Festival. And like the Dvorak Festival in 2005, this festival consisted also of many moving parts: concerts, documentaries, a live broadcast from Hammond's of From the Top, hosted by Christopher O'Reilly, and a classic concert of music inspired by America that ended the season. In 2007, the Aaron Copland American Icon Festival culminated with an all Copland concert in May, and also had many moving parts as well. And the festival examined, I should say, the path that Aaron Copland took from being a composer to a modernist to a populist to an atonalist. The fourth and fifth American Icon Festivals were held in 2008 and 2009, and they followed the life and works of George Gershwin and Leonard Bernstein. After the Copland Festival, the ESO recorded an all Copland CD on the Naxos label. This was generously subsidized by a donor and included previously unrecorded Copland compositions for Naxos. Hansen conducted the ESO and the St. Charles Singers. Benjamin Pasternak was the piano soloist. To assist with the ambitious music education program, Randall Swigum joined as education conductor in 2005. He was also the hugely popular conductor of the Elgin Youth Symphony Orchestra. Swigum was responsible for creating and conducting the kids' concerts, which is grades 1 through 5, music in the middle concerts, 6 through 8, and developing teacher guides and supporting materials. The acclaimed concerts were praised by the teachers and students, both, for their imaginative approach to getting young people excited about symphonic music. Swigum also created the Family Fun series. These concerts were very popular with kids and adults alike. Programs like these distinguished the ESO as a leader in presenting concerts for young listeners. The Halloween Spooktacular featured magic, mystery, and mayhem, plus pre-concert events and lots of good music. Many Strings Attached had electric violin, magic harp, and music from Bach to bluegrass. And the amazing Technicolor Orchestra explored the fantastic world of sound and color that is an orchestra. This is conductor Swigum leading the Spooktacular concert. Of course, he and the musicians are in costume for the occasion. Before the concert, kids tried out instruments and learned basic conducting skills with the help of musicians. And then they had a chance to conduct a short piece played by a trio of musicians. This young conductor is learning how to tell the musicians to play softer and slow down. I think you can see that these concerts were quite popular. In addition to the concerts, there were various ensembles that were put together that would travel outside to do programs for schools and organizations. Around the World with Percussion featured three members of the percussion section. The Magic of Rhythm included some real magic, and looked like they had fun with the photo. I wonder how long it really took to get it right. The Amazing Double Duo put a spotlight on the bass players, and it looks like the two double basses take up more space than their players do. The Bach to School Ensemble combined music and dance. I'm not sure exactly what this group did for the program, but it looks like fun. Now I need to segue back into 2010 and 11 classic concerts for another example of innovative programming. In 2011, three rising superstars, a cellist, pianist, and violinist, were invited to play in separate concerts and then returned to play together in a later concert. Elisa Weilerstein is pictured here playing the Haydn Concerto in D for cello and orchestra in January, Hansen conducting. The second soloist, Inan Bartanan, played the Shostakovich Concerto for piano in February. And a third soloist, Chi Young, played a Lalo Concerto in March. Then, in late April, all three performers returned to play together for the monumental Beethoven Triple Concerto for piano, violin, and cello. Unfortunately, I did not find photos for the violinist or for the Beethoven Triple Concerto. So I think these may be the last photos of Hansen conducting for the 61st season. This is significant because at the end of the season, his 26th as music director, Robert Hansen resigned. The Hansen era had demonstrated, without a doubt, that the ESO was capable of achieving great things as a professional orchestra. A full-scale search for a new music director was begun, and guest conductors were announced for the upcoming 2011-2012 season. In 2013, after an national search, Andrew Grams, an alumnus of the Juilliard School and the Curtis Institute, accepted the ESO baton from Mayor David Captain. Andrew quickly became a favorite with local residents and symphony patrons alike as he embraced the community, volunteering his time for local charities. Grams initiated Inside the Music, a popular multimedia pre-concert program that introduced listeners to the music they were about to hear. Andrew's experience leading orchestras across the U.S. and across the globe elevated the ESO and brought notoriety to the city of Elgin. The Illinois Council of Orchestras was impressed, and in 2015, Andrew was named Illinois Conductor of the Year. And the next year, 2016, the orchestra received its fourth Orchestra of the Year award, another unprecedented accomplishment. Grams enhanced the ESO's outreach in the community by offering mariachi concerts, dance recitals, and other programming to attract new audiences. He enjoyed spending time teaching children about orchestral instruments at the Gail Borden Public Library. Here, he answers a question from one of the students about a violin. This was a time of both musical growth and enforced isolation due to the COVID epidemic, and creative ideas were needed to handle the challenges. The symphony developed innovative ways of using social media to reach its audiences in isolation, and Zoom conversations with Maestro Grams, musicians, and guest artists were offered. Starting in 2020, the orchestra offered Fridays on the Farm, concerts in a tent at Gebert's Pumpkin Farm, where masked audience members listened to masked musicians in relative safety. Here, Grams conducts in the tent with a large audience. The venue was unique and quite enjoyable during the good weather. After 8 exciting seasons with the ESO, Andrew announced his departure in 2021 to pursue guest conducting positions around the world. He had developed a strong following among both musicians and audience members. At his final concert of Beethoven's Fifth, Andrew received the key to the city of Elgin from Councilman John Steffen and a fond farewell from his enthusiastic fans. A search for the next music director began, and the ESO was excited to welcome a series of excellent guest conductors to the stage for the 2021-22 season. The idea to have guest conductors audition for the music director post has served the symphony well. As proof, in May 2023, Chad Goodman became the Elgin Symphony Orchestra's fifth music director. This past year of the 75th anniversary was his second season with the ESO. He came to Elgin with music degrees from the Eastman School of Music and San Francisco State University. From 2019 to 2023, he was a conducting fellow of the prestigious New World Symphony and assistant conductor to the revered Michael Tilson Thomas, his conducting mentor. Goodman has also served as an assistant conductor to the San Francisco Symphony. He also has led workshops to help young professional musicians navigate the world of music based on a book he wrote called You Earned a Music Degree, Now What? Goodman's ESO audition concert featuring George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue instantly enthralled the audience. He describes his music philosophy in this way: I want everyone to feel welcomed, energized, and inspired by their orchestra. I believe that music is for everyone. We use it to mark every possible occasion. We come to music for inspiration, for comfort, and for storytelling. Goodman's youthful energy and outgoing personality and creative programming have been inspiring to both the musicians and the audiences. He is also the first maestro to speak in Spanish from the podium, signaling a new era in the orchestra's outreach to its Hispanic community. A recent example, in 2024, the ESO partnered with Gail Borden Library and the City of Elgin to present a Dia de los Muertos concert featuring popular singer Jose Carlos Diaz at Hemmons to celebrate loved ones on the Day of the Dead. To mark the beginning of the 75th anniversary season, Goodman was interviewed on WGN Channel 9 News. When asked to describe what makes the ESO special, he highlighted the level of talent, the fine musicianship of the players, the importance of the symphony as an integral part of Elgin and the surrounding communities. Community outreach continues to be highly valued by the ESO. The Adopt a School program is designed for third grade, fourth grade, and fifth graders. Schools must apply each year to be part of the program. In the last school year, there were 4 elementary schools involved. The goal is to enhance the school's existing music programs and foster meaningful personal connections between ESO musicians, students, and teachers. Over the course of the school year, 4 ESO ensembles representing strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion visit the classrooms to acquaint them with orchestral instruments and engage in musical activities. The culmination in the spring is a field trip to Hemmons Cultural Center in Elgin to hear the ESO's annual Ainsworth Concerts for Youth. These programs currently draw 9,000 youths from 60 communities. Supported by the Ainsworth family, foundation grants, and in part by the City of Elgin and the Elgin Cultural Arts Commission, those youth concerts that began under Maestro Hillis as young people's concerts and continued under Maestro Hansen as kids' concerts are continuing today as the Ainsworth Concerts for Youth. Both Adopt a School and Ainsworth Concerts are critically important resources for the music education in the community. Goodman also makes extensive use of social media to reach out, sharing his thoughts about upcoming concerts online. The ESO provides concerts in other nearby communities and venues, such as local churches and the Elgin City parks. Many of these concerts are free. For more than a decade, the Musicians Care Program has presented healing performances for patients, families, and staff at Advocate Sherman Hospital, Advocate Good Shepherd Hospital, and area retirement homes and hospices. The ESO has also has collaborated with Rotary International, Food for Greater Elgin, Downtown Neighborhood Association, and the Chamber of Commerce. Goodman participates, along with other ESO musicians, in Listeners Club programs at the Gail Borden Public Library and the Barrington Area Library and other libraries in the area to introduce and explain upcoming concerts. These programs are free and take place in the week prior to the concert. Ongoing collaboration between the Gail Borden Public Library and the ESO to present musical programs at the library has recently included an exhibit and program featuring Violins for Hope, with the ESO musicians playing the instruments. Each orchestra member is unique and important for the whole, but I want to take a moment to highlight two orchestra members who have recently performed as soloists with the symphony. Isabella Lippi, the concertmaster, has been with the ESO since the early 2000s and has soloed multiple times with the ESO and with many other orchestras. In March of 2024, she played the Mozart Violin Concerto No. 4 in the Classic Concert Series to much acclaim. In March of last year, Lippi was inducted into the Fox Valley Hall of Fame for her many accomplishments as a musician, violinist, and teacher. Matthew Agnew joined the ESO in 2002 as principal cellist and has been a featured soloist many times. In January 2025, he played the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto No. 1, which he describes as a well-crafted, exciting concerto that I love. Matthew's dedication to the ESO is clear from this statement. Early on, I decided ESO was going to be a big part of my identity. The ESO is special, and I know I have made the right choice. There is a third musician that I must highlight because he has a special distinction that no one else can claim. Mark Kuntz, recently retired member of the cello section, is the only player who can say that he has played under all 5 ESO music directors. As a high school student, he shared the Elgin High stage with his early music teachers, Gene Hove and Marion Laffey. A lifelong Elgin resident, Mark studied and later taught at the American Conservatory of Music in Chicago. He joined the orchestra in 1960 and says, as a community orchestra, it was one of the finest you can find. I am very fortunate to have it in my backyard. Among other interests, when he is not playing with the symphony or teaching, he likes to build harpsichords. Mark is currently featured on the ESO website. As I'm sure you can imagine, many people work in the background to make the symphony a success. Unfortunately, I can't highlight them all here, but I do want to introduce you to Mark Thayer on the right, the symphony's CEO. Mark came to the ESO in 2021 from Symphony, New Hampshire, and guided the search for the 5th music director that culminated in the hiring of Chad Goodman. He is also an accomplished violinist and teacher with degrees in violin performance from Eastman School of Music. During his first 2 seasons, Chad's dynamic conducting and his ability to connect with the audience and musicians have been an inspiration. Audiences for subscription concerts have continued to grow, and the 75th season ended in May with sold-out performances. The City of Elgin Council honored the ESO with an official proclamation that was read at the final concerts in May. The proclamation highlights the symphony's artistic excellence, innovative programming, and commitment to the development of the diverse community it serves. It was an exciting and fitting way to end the 75th anniversary season. The 76th season will begin in October, and there is a lot to look forward to. You will find more information at elginsymphony.org. So we have come full circle at this point. This has been an inspiring story for me, and I hope it has been one for you as well. My thanks to you for taking the time to learn about it.